Well, folks, good day to you, one and all. And tonight, once again, your favorite spot on a Wednesday night, the Western Province Sports and GT. And it's the Masters Series. It's the new season. It's round number 5. But due to the fact that some people have got load shedding this evening, it is going to be at Silverstone, but it's not going to be for points. As always, Mike Side, the voice of West Province Motorsport, Frankie Innes. Frankie, good day to you.
Yes, Gary. Hello, everybody. And yeah, geez, there's 20 odd of them that's taking part in this one. But due to, as Gary said, the load shedding situation going on in the country, there are drivers that can't compete, including Dr. Mike Vera himself. And then Colin Plitt is also involved in business meetings, and he also cannot take part in tonight's event. And those are just two names that would love to have taken part this evening, but due to circumstances cannot. Well, we are at Silverstone, and we're racing the Dallara Formula 3 cars, and it's clear skies, 3 km/h winds, only 1% chance of rain, which means nothing, and the weather is 18 degrees Celsius, and the race will be 40 minutes long.
Yep, it's going to be interesting stuff. That's what Silverstone looks like. The guys are out on circuit, 2 minutes 22 of 10 minutes of qualifying. Everybody gets a warm-up lap and 2 laps. Obviously, they will only start showing what the lap times are once they have done their warm-up lap and completed yet another lap. It'll be pretty interesting to see how it works out this time around. What can I say? It's been all about Johan Ferree in the past. Then it was Graham Stephen. Then it was Willem Botha that came to the fore. A couple of new drivers that have joined us now as well. Massimiliano Cherubin, welcome to the series. Scotty Temple from Sports and GT, welcome to the series. Nice to see you there. Herman Lazarus also joining up. It's nice to see Herman out there. This will be second race. Adrian Lefloch, and that is one of our international races, and Josh Garfias, I think that is the correct pronunciation. So to all our international and national drivers, a big welcome to what is becoming one of the premier series in iRacing in South Africa. So as we said, round number 5 of the season at the track that we said, with the cars that we said, but not counting for points because of some of the people possibly not being able to make it out on circuit today. So the first man that we're going to have a look at, that is Stephen McCarthy, and Stephen was one of our top 5 racers from the previous season, and we expect lots from him. There's no doubt about it. He's definitely one of the best out there. Willem Botha, and Willem Botha has just gone to the top of the log with Sean McCarthy. That's our first 2 top qualifiers that's there. Sean McCarthy going to be out there as well. Stephen McCarthy going to be out there as well. The McCarthys are normally very quick, no doubt about it. Not only are they quick, but they are very consistent. So Willem Botha from Francois Hubert. Frankie, Francois Hubert, phenomenal recently in the 304.
Well, I mentioned off-air while they were doing their practice sessions that Francois Hubert has been the find of the season. He sits there in second in the championship after 4 rounds. And even though this one does not count for league points, he'd love to end in the top 3, that's for sure. Johan Ferree is currently sitting out there in that 3rd position with a 153.580 in the Monster Energy Formula 3 Dallara, his favorite colors. And then Sean McCarthy, that for a brief moment was in that top group, still is there. He sits in that 4th position with a 153.584. Then Andre Steenkamp in the DeLonghi, the black and gold DeLonghi outfit known to us as the Batmobile, sits there in that 5th position with a 153.618. And then Graham Stephen, a man that's lucky to be out there today. He had internet connectivity problems the whole day. He was battling with his internet. He's got it sorted out eventually, and he is racing. And currently, with 5 minutes and almost 45 seconds gone, he sits in that top 6 with a 153.652.
You see his picture momentarily disappeared there, so let's hope that his connectivity problems don't remain a problem. Charles Joubert, yet another of the Jouberts out there, and that is on a 154.5. Davy Joubert from the same family, a 154.7, so just 2/10. A little bit further down, Wayne Camage, he likes to have somewhat different colors. That's in the DeLonghi machine, and that's going to cost him one of his 2 qualifying laps, because he's going to spin it around again. He's obviously just overheated those back tires, so he'll have to just recompose himself and try and get going again. He has already done 1 lap, so this is his 2nd lap. So that you see, to the best of my mind, a 154.825, that's about as good as it's going to get for him. Welcome, Scotty Temple, the man from the touring cars, and well, he's very, very good out there. He'll probably be very good at this.
Yeah, Scott Temple, ex-Formula 1600 driver, ex-Formula VW driver, ex-Volkswagen Polo Cup driver, and now racing in the GTC category, Scotty Temple. And lovely to see him out here with us. Scott Temple, he currently finds himself in 8th position.
Yep.
That man you see there in 14th place, that's Johannes van der Merwe, and he's one of our new drivers, and he's making his debut this evening, and he'll be happy to make his debut in a race that does not count for championship points. However, in 9th position, Johan Engelbrecht in that number 15 car, full on Ferrari colors in that 15 Dallara, and he is in the top 10 with a 153.541.
Comeback kid Robbie Teens is just one further back. There is Robbie Teens, 154.4, and well, a bit of a gap between 9th and 10th position. He finds himself just ahead of that man, Charles Hubert, on a 54.5, just 1/10, 2/10 further down at this point is Davy Joubert, as we see a couple of people posting further up on the log. Wayne Camage, a 54.825, he's come back into the pit lane. Johannes Movie has now been dropped down as the guys have bumped themselves up. That's where it is Van der Merwe, so it was actually just typed in short over there. So it is Johannes van der Merwe. Herman Lazarus, looks like he's coming around. Will he make it for this lap? Yes, I think so. It looks like it. Let's see what kind of time does Herman Lazarus put up. He actually came on very strong in his first outing, did Herman Lazarus. And, well,
He stays there in 18th position.
Oh, he's got to go across the start-finish line, hopefully in time. 8 minutes 43. Yep, I think he'll make it. You can see the diagram there. 18th position. That's the 18 that's running around the circuit. And that straight line across the track, that is where the counter mechanism is. So he's got to get there within a minute and 5 seconds, which he will do. He's one of the last cars out on circuit. As we said, they will get 1 warm-up and then 2 flying laps. Now, each driver, as he sits in his car, can only see the track and himself. He cannot see anybody else for the qualifying, although they are all out there consecutively, and we can see that they can only see themselves out there on circuit. So Herman Lazarus from cheapcars.co.za out there, and let's see what kind of time he can put up. He comes up towards the line now. He's on a 158.871. Can he better that? Yep,
1 position up.
8.044. So at this stage of the fight, on the front row of the grids, Willem Botha and Francois Hubert, and our newcomer, look at that, Mr. Lefloch. He finds himself in a very decent position.
Yeah, that is Adrian Lefloch, and he's also one of our international drivers, and oh, what a debut by him. Andre Steenkamp still out there on track. He's making his way towards the end of the lap. He currently finds himself in the top 10 with a 153.108, and that is exactly where Andre Steenkamp will stay. Right, so the 10-minute qualifying session is done. And the front row of the grid is Willem Botha and Francois Hubert, second row. Oh, all international second row. Adrian Lefloch and Jos Garfias.
That's going to be interesting to try and get through that when they get into difficult positions, and we try and say those names pretty quickly. Lovely to have them there. Graham Stephen, the strong duo, Graham Stephen and Johan Ferry in 5th and 6th. That's a turn up for the books. Und welcome, Scotty Temple in 7th position.
Yeah, and Maximiliano Cherobin sits there in the 8th position, and then Sean McCarthy and Andre Steenkamp. That is a top 10, followed by Davy Hubert, Johan Engelbrecht. That's a top 12 the first 6 rows of the grid as we get ready to get underway here at Silverstone Grand Prix circuit.
Well, this is going to be very, very interesting stuff. Let's just clean that board on the left-hand side, make lots and lots of space so we can see as much as possible. Maybe we can take that track map away there as well. Right, here we go. So, Willem Botha and Francois Joubert on the front row of the grid. There's still 1 or 2 cars that's missing on that grid. Let's see if we can maybe pick up who it is. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The 7th place car, that's Scotty Temple. And behind Scotty Temple is Sean McCarthy. That's not showing on the grid yet either. As Eskom decided to switch their lights off. Nope. There comes Sujin Properties car is on. So let's hope that Scotty Temple can get in there as well. Let's hope that Eskom doesn't turn this all upside down.
Well, he seems to be the only man that's not on the grid at this point in time. Everybody else seems to be there from what we can see. And it doesn't look like Scott Temple is on the grid. There's a big open gap ahead there of the Sujin outfit of Sean McCarthy. So we're about to go pretty soon. 3 lights, 4 lights, 5 lights, pause and go, go, go. Away we go. Oh, and all of a sudden it is a Willem Botha that gets spat out to the left-hand side of the circuit. And yeah, they come down towards us now. They are abreast. There are 3 abreast. And Francois drops down. Joubert drops down into that 2nd position. And Adrian Lefloch sits out there in P1. Lefloch leads there, international driver sitting out there in P1. Sean McCarthy busy making his way through, and there's chaos further at the back of the field. One of those drivers is Charles Joubert that's involved, and he enters and the field right in front of another driver again, and it's absolute pandemonium, and we're not even halfway through lap number 1 yet.
We're not even through the first couple of corners. Well, it is Adrian Lefloch that leads them out, our new international driver. And then in behind him, our 2nd international driver. So it looks like we've imported some serious talent. Look at those 2 up front. That is going to be leading the pack out. A little bit further down, it's going to be of the local guy. Oh, you don't get much closer than that. Francois Joubert in the black and white car. In there behind him is Graham Stephen, the brother of Michael Stephen. Just a little bit behind that, there is Johan Fourie. Johan Fourie, the man that's leading the championship, only by 1 point. Only by 1 point, but he's got Cherubin in there as well. So all of our international riders that have just joined us finding himself pretty much in the top 6.
Yeah, Maximiliano Cherubin sits out there in P6. So in the top 6, we've got 3 international drivers, 2 from Italy, and I think Garfias comes from Mexico by the looks of things. If I look at that flag, well, Adrian Lefloch, he is right there and he's busy challenging for the lead. Lefloch, and he gets the lead back again from Garfias that had it for a brief moment. These boys from Italy and from Mexico are going hell for leather, and all of a sudden Fourie's been challenged by Maximiliano Cherubin. The Italian is right in there, just sits behind the South African. Going through that left-hander, Fourie and the boys realize now that these boys from Italy and Mexico, they have not come to play around, that's for sure.
Look how close they are. They are just so blindingly quick. And you can see by the way they're riding, Frankie, when they're close to one another, that they make space for one another as well, which is utterly brilliant. Johan Fourie just a little bit further down there. They come through now. Look how tight those front 2 are. But look at this battle. That is for 4th, 5th and 6th position.
Yeah, Graham Stephen, Johan Fourie, Maximiliano Cherubin, Francois Joubert, they're all in that group heading into that right-hander. Yo, I tell you what, this is going to be hardcore stuff. The South African boys realize now that these boys from overseas have not come to mess around. It is Garfias and Lefloch that sit out there in P1 and 2, making their way through that right hand. The first of the South African boys are sitting there in that 3rd position, and that is Graham Stephen. Our boys are going to have to pedal very hard. Fourie's been challenged there by Cherubin. Maximiliano Cherubin having a look at Johan Fourie. Now, believe me, Johan Fourie in real-time racing has raced against many drivers from overseas, and he'll have to pull that talent out deep now if he wants to keep a Cherubin behind him. Fourie in P4, Cherubin currently in P5.
Francois Joubert just behind them. That's what he sees as they go top speed through that right-hander. So close to one another. Any lesser driver would not have made it through there whatsoever. So Steenkamp's got it all to do. Oh, he's closed up very, very nicely. Look at that. Francois Joubert is now right in there with him. He's made it a three-way battle. Andre Steenkamp just behind them. You'll see him. He'll come into shot. Yep, there he is. It's Andre Steenkamp and Sean McCarthy is there as well. Let's go and look at what Mr. Lafloch is doing up front.
Well, Adrian Lafloch has got Graham Stephen in second position. What has happened to our other man from overseas? What's happened to Garfias? He's dropping down the leaderboard. He sits there in 12th position. Does Garfias? Well, I tell you what, is he in the pits? Well, okay, then he must have had some kind of a problem. It's Adrian Lafloch that sits out there in a P1 with a Graham Stephen in that second place. I'd love to know the gap between Lafloch and Stephen. There can't be too much between the leader and Stephen. Here comes Fourie. Behind Fourie is Francois Joubert. Behind Francois Joubert is Sean McCarthy. McCarthy's also coming through. And then not too far behind them, 8.2 seconds behind them in P8, is Captain Pete himself, Peter van der Spey.
Well, look at that, Francois Joubert. That's the smallest gap. That's a 0.2 of a second between the two of them as they come out into the front main. Francois Joubert all over the back of Andre Steenkamp. Andre Steenkamp is the man that likes to use the Batmobile colors. Once again, he's got the black and the yellow out there, and look how close he is. Francois Joubert and Andre Steenkamp. That's the fight for the fifth position. Sean McCarthy right in there behind them. Sean McCarthy's there as well. So very, very tight battle that they've got. In another lap or two, we're going to go back and look at some of those incidents that happened earlier on so that you can see exactly what happened as we lost out on Josh Garfias. And we'll pick up that accident for you as well.
At one stage the game was in 12th place, and then Gary was saying that he was there in the pit lane, but it's all about Adrian Lafloch that sits out there in P1 as we have a look at what happened to Gorb. He's all over the place. He was in the air, in the sand pit, and into the barrier went Josh Garfias in the 99 car. So that's what happened to Garfias. That's why I dropped down to P12 and eventually into the pits. Man, oh man, Adrian Lafloch sitting out there in P1, the man from Italy. He's leading them into that left-hander. He's got Graham Stephen in second place. Maximiliano Cherubin is in that third position. Johan Fourie is down there in P4. Man, I'll tell you what, there you see Fourie making his way through, and just ahead of him is a Cherubin. So he is closing up there on Cherubin. He's 7/10 of a second behind Cherubin, and there's nothing between Cherubin and Stephen. There's only 5/10 of a second, 6/10 of a second between them. That's a hell of a fight that's raging on there between Maximiliano Cherubin and the man in P3, Graham Stephen, and Stephen's into the wall. Graham Stephen is into the wall. Johan Fourie missed that whole lot. Somehow Johan missed all that, Gary, and Johan has now moved up a position or two.
Wow, there's been a lot of action. Let's go and have a look from the beginning of the race at some of the action that we've seen. There's been a lot of cars that have gone off, and well, the first one that went off was in fact that man Swayze Joubert.
This is right at the beginning of the race. You can see they just pulled off the line, and Swayze Joubert made contact with the Camel DeLonghi car there ahead of him. Wayne Camage is another man that is in trouble. I think Camage is the guy that was initially tagged. Yeah, Camage was that Camel DeLonghi car that was involved in that situation.
Stephen McCarthy was the other one that was involved in some other form of going off circuit. And yep, that's where Stephen McCarthy lost out. Charles Joubert was the next man that was involved there. Let's have a look at Charles. It all happened pretty much in this corner when there were so many different incidents that happened, and that was what happened with Charles Joubert. Robbie Teens also involved at that stage of the fight. Nice that we can have a look at all of these different replays. There's Robbie Teens. Robbie Teens trying to have a look up on the inside, and that was what happened to him. Herman Lazarus, what happened to Herman?
Yeah, Charles Joubert and Robbie Teens was involved in that one. Lazarus running, he had to take evasive action not to get involved in that Camage incident and that's why he ran off track, and that's cost him big time at the end of the day.
Eugene Manouk had an incident that cost him pretty dearly as well. See there that cloud of smoke that he went into, and then that was, I think it was Joubert that was coming back onto the circuit that cost him pretty badly. Johannes van der Merwe, our newcomer, also had an incident not that long ago. Let's see if we can pick up that incident for you. No, it looks like he's actually gone completely off circuit.
Oh, there he goes, spinning all over the place. Gary spun right off the track there, coming into that right-hander.
Davy Joubert, another man that is normally pretty quick, having an off as well. Let's see what happened to him. Yeah, all by himself. He just got too hard on the gas, just a little bit too quickly. Ian Riddle also had an incident. Oh, nice to be able to see all these different incidents that have happened. He was going pretty well at this stage of the fight in the number 20 car. Late and hard on the brakes, just spins it right around. Well, that's just some of the incidents that have happened to date. Let's go back to the front end of the field. Adrian Lefloch, there he is, and he's taken 5.6 seconds out of Cherubin, our other international rider. And Cherubin's doing a pretty decent job, but he's going to have to go some, because this Floch man is very, very quick.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, the Floch and Cherubin sit out there in P1 and P2. While we were looking at the replays, we have somehow lost Johan Fourie completely. He sits down there in that 13th position.
That was the incident with Johan Fourie and
Graham
Stephen.
Yes.
And Johan Fourie, well, we haven't seen Johan Fourie for a little bit. Let's see if we can pick him up. Johan Fourie did come back out of the pit lane again. There the car was in the pit lane and it got fixed. He did come back out, but let's see if we can pick up where in fact he is.
Johan Fourie on the leaderboard shows there in
there
that
is.
12th position. Yeah, he's out there in P12. Is Johan Fourie. Johan will be saying, thank goodness this one doesn't count for league points, but he'll be having a lot of fun nonetheless and try to fight and work his way back from that 12th position in the Monster Energy Formula 3 Dallara as he works his way around Silverstone Grand Prix circuit.
Well, Frankie, let's have a look from the top of the leaderboard and let's work our way down and see exactly where everybody is. There's the leader in the 26 car. He's got a 6-second gap on Cherubin. That's that man that's been very impressive from the practice we saw earlier on through the qualifying. And in race trim, going side by side through numerous corners with different people and holding on very well. The Batmobile under Steenkamp, I see somebody's just gone off. We'll pick that up. It looked like somebody had smashed it pretty badly into the barrier. Under Steenkamp, 7 seconds further back, so that's a total of 13 seconds off. In there behind him, Sean McCarthy, as always. Sean McCarthy looking very good. Rounding out the top 5, Uncle Peter, he's in there. Captain Pete not losing out, and he's got our new sponsor, the sponsor for Sports and GT, West Bromwich Motor Club, Killarney International Raceway. Louder Cars, welcome to Peter van der Spey and Sports and GT.
Right behind him, he's got the number 9 car of Davy Joubert, and Davy Joubert is less than a second in there behind him. That's the two of them going into that left-hander, and then 0.6 of a second behind them is Francois Joubert in that 304. Francois Joubert at one stage of the game was in that top 3-4. He finds himself in that 7th position now, and he's only 0.5 of a second behind Davy Joubert. Sander Bakari is in P8, and he's 5.7 seconds behind Francois Joubert. There goes Sander Bakari in the old Canon Williams colours. There's Steve McCarthy in that 9th position, and Johan Engelbrecht is 1.1 seconds behind him. Engelbrecht in P10. Sway Joubert is there in that 11th position. He's 5.3 seconds behind Johan Engelbrecht. Does Sway sit out there in that 11th place in the Red Bull Racing colours. And then rounding off the top 12, and he's 12 seconds behind Sway Joubert in 12th position is the Monster Energy Dallara of Johan Fourie.
Not where he wants to be, but you know, Johan, 13 minutes in and a total of 40-minute race, he'll find a way back towards the front. The comeback kid, Robbie Teens, a long way back, an extra 15 seconds back to Robbie, and then he's got 4 seconds on that man there. That is Willem Botha, so yet another one of the big hitters that's run into a problem. We saw earlier on the incident of Ian Riddle, and he rounds out now the top 15, about 9 seconds off Willem Botha.
Yeah, Tings and Botha, they are the two Toyota Gazoo guys. They're sitting out there in 13th and 14th place, not exactly where they want to be, and this man isn't where he wants to be, and that is Graham Stephen, after tangling a couple of laps ago on one of the main straights there with the Johan Fourie, and he finds himself out the top 10, out the top 15. He's there in P16, Graham Stephen, and he's 8.6 seconds ahead of the man in 17th position, namely Eugene Minuk.
A lovely drive by Eugene Minuk. Just looking at the battle box, that 16 car of Graham Stephen, 11 positions down. That's a long way. Eugene Minuk, well done Eugene, in that 17th position. He's looking very decent, as everybody else had problems, so he took advantage of it. A nice spray job on that motor car as well. A lot of detail in that looks pretty decent. And then the next man up there in 18th position, that is Wayne Camage in the yellow car. Leonardo Bakari also a long way further down, another 25 seconds further back. So a lot of people that are recovering from early incidents. Herman Lazarus, the man that came up top 5 in his first race with the Western Province Sports and GT Masters Series, the previous round that we had, round number 4. After that incident that he had, and lost a bit of time in the pits in the number 10 car, 7 seconds further back from Leonardo Bakari.
Yeah, that is your top 21 down to Peter Hubert, and then 39 seconds behind him in P22 is Johannes van der Merwe. He's also one of our newcomers, but there is a lovely fight for P3 and P4 with Sean McCarthy only 9/10 of a second behind Andre Steenkamp. As we have a look at the replay at Johannes van der Merwe in that 21 car, making his way into the left-hander and just losing the tail end completely. The tail end of that 21 Dallara just stepping out there on Johannes van der Merwe.
That's why he finds himself a bit of a way further back due to that specific incident. We have had Graham Stephen going off the track again, and this looks like it's an incident that's happened after he had been back into the pits and came back onto the circuit. Sorry, it's Michael Stephen. I realized Michael Stephen was in here. Hello, Michael Stephen, Graham Stephen, Michael Stephen, the two brothers. So that is him. So he was way down the pack. That's why we didn't notice him earlier on. So Michael and Graham Stephen both out there doing it. Of the people that have been into the pits, this man is the lead car of the people that have had pit stops, and that in fact is Johan Fourie. You can see there, Johan Fourie, he's at a pit stop. Everybody behind him except for Eugene Minuk has been into the pits once or twice. Johannes van der Merwe and Peter Hubert, the two of them having been in twice, and Charles Hubert. That is why Charles Hubert is so much further down. Let's go back to the front end of the field.
Yep, Le Floch leads. I've said he comes from Italy, but if I have a look at that flag, yeah, I'm not sure exactly where it comes from. If it was the French flag, the colors would be the other way around and it would be blue. So I'm guessing from what I'm seeing on the monitor on my right that he does come from Italy. If I'm wrong, I do apologize. But Le Floch, either way, he's done a 151.421. That's a personal best for this man, who sits out there in that P1. Definitely the second place man is Italian, Maximiliano Cherubin. He is there in that second place. He's got a PB of a 152.185 as Le Floch loses the tail end. Well, that is the leader, Adrian Le Floch. He's lost the tail end. Will he rejoin in the lead? I think he will still hold on to the lead. That's a back marker that's gone through, and that is Graham Stephen.
Again.
And he has made contact there with Le Floch. Le Floch does hold on to that lead. He's only 1.5 seconds ahead of Cherubin. But man, it almost turned into a horror show there for Maximiliano Cherubin.
Well, that was the incorrect one. Let's try and pick up the Graham Stephen incident for you. Unfortunately, Jimmy decided it's time for him to dominate this one. Darby Jabber also having a similar incident recently. See what happened to Darby Jabber. See, he did lose a bit of time. Just too hard on the gas. as he went through that double right-hander, and that is what cost him pretty dearly.
Right, so LeFloch still sits out there in P1, and look who's right on his case. Cherubin only a tenth of a second behind him. That has cost LeFloch big time. He's been hassled by the Italian there, by Maximiliano Cherubin, as he sits in that second position. Now we see an in-car cam of what Cherubin seeing looking over that nose cone of that Formula 3 Dallara as he goes into that slight right-hander. There is nothing between the two of them. They're going to be side by side shortly, and surely into the lead must go Cherubin. Yep, yeah, Cherubin has taken that lead, but no, LeFloch fights right back again, and back into P1 goes Adrian LeFloch.
You can clearly see that they are accustomed to riding wheel to wheel. And let's have a look at that Graham Stephen incident. Yep, it was Graham Stephen that actually lost it all by himself, and then it was he just decided to go from there straight back to the pits. So that's the second incident that he has had, unfortunately, and that has cost him pretty dearly. As we see, he's way down the field. Graham Stephen down there in 22nd position, and he's on his way out of the pits for the second time.
Yeah, it could have cost LeFloch big time, who now finds himself in that second position, because Maximiliano Cherubin is a man that sits out there in P1. Here's a lovely fight going on out there for P4 and 5 between McCarthy and Francois Hubert. That's the one we just picked up briefly before we went back to the man that sits out there in P1. Here we go, Sean McCarthy, P4, 7/10 of a second ahead there of Francois Hubert in P5. So not much between these two guys fighting it out there for that fourth position as we hop on board in car with Francois Hubert. He sees that blue Formula 3 Dallara of Sean McCarthy right in there with him. Here he comes, 4/10 of a second is closing up onto him as they make their way into that right-hander. We have a look at that wishbones and that front right suspension of the Francois Hubert F3 Dallara working overtime as he closes up onto that back wing, that engine, that gearbox there of that Formula 3 Dallara, that blue Sujin outfit of Sean McCarthy. Down the Hamilton straight they go now, and there's not much between the two of them as he dives up onto the inside, and McCarthy dives right across his bows and keeps that line for that left-hander working out of the Hamilton straight and making their way into that right-hander.
Doesn't get much closer than that. Look at that, 0.2, 0.3 of a second, and now they're chopping and changing lanes to go for the passing maneuver. David Joubert, he's got himself very close as well, as the computer just jumped automatically to that one. Let's pick up David Joubert. There's David Joubert. That is in 9th position is David, and he's gone up 2 positions. Sway Joubert, but at a bad qualifying, up 15 positions. That is pretty amazing.
Yeah, he sits out there in 10th position, does Sway Joubert. However, Sean McCarthy still been hassled there by Francois Hubert in that fight for 4 and 5 as they race past us into that right-hander. Now we're once again on board with Francois. He hooks up that 6th gear as he brings it into that left-hander. That's a whole gaggle of left right sweeps as they make their way from there towards the top half, or the top part I should say, of the Silverstone International Grand Prix circuit. And he's now 10th of a second behind him. Under the bridge they go. There's a right-hander coming up. He's got the line for it. Will he hold the line and take that position away? Yes, he does. And Francois Hubert moves up into that 4th position, demoting Sean McCarthy down into 5th.
Well, that was a brilliant piece of driving there, I must say. Very well done. And, well, there's been so many accidents and incidents that have changed so many people's fortunes in this one. But Cherubin is ahead of LeFloch, and that is the position that counts. Look at that. Cherubin up 7 positions, and he's got LeFloch in there behind him that's moved up 1. Not a big gap between the two of them. If we look at those gaps, you will see visually that is the difference between the two of them. Andre Steenkamp, there he will come into that complex of corners that you were just looking at now. But right in there behind him is Francois Hubert, and there comes Sean McCarthy as well. So the top 5, nothing much in it. 3 of the 5 at any given time in the same camera shot.
Yeah, then Peter van der Spey rounds
Captain
off the top 6. He's 6.2 seconds behind Sean McCarthy, with Sandro Bakari in the Renault Camel Williams colours of his Dallara. He's in that 7th place, and he's 2.2 seconds behind Van der Spey. In P8, Stephen McCarthy. He's 4.9, almost 5 seconds behind Sandro Bakari is Stephen McCarthy. And then 2.2 seconds behind him is Davi Hubert. Not much there between Stephen McCarthy and Davi Hubert for P8 and P9. And Johan Fourie, that was trying to muscle his way back. He sits in that 10th position. He rounds off the top 10, but oh my word, he's almost 13 seconds behind 9th place man Davi Hubert.
Well, he's pretty much in no man's land, because 14 seconds further back is the Toyota Gazoo man, Willem Botha, in the 6th car. See in the Toyota Gazoo colours. Lovely colour scheme that he's got there as he goes out into the front main. And then Robbie Teings right in there behind him. And Lucas coming through behind Robbie Teings outside of the top 10. But there he is, Johan Engelbrecht.
Yeah, it's pity to see Fourie and Botha. They are 10th and 11th. So 2 of your main contenders sitting out there in P10 and 11. Teings in 12th, and then that man there in the Ferrari colours, Johan Engelbrecht, 2.1 seconds behind Robbie Teings. So catching Robbie Teings is Johan Engelbrecht. He sits there in that 13th position. There you see Teings go through, and as Teings made a move on, was that a back marker? That's a back marker. I thought he was going to make a move there on Johan Fourie, but that's definitely not Johan Fourie. That is one of the back markers.
There comes Swayze Hubert in the 22 car. He's 14 seconds further back, and Ian Riddle only 7 seconds behind that, but that's what 7 seconds is, virtually the length of that straight. He finds himself a long way down. These 3 cars pretty close to one another under brake. Pretty close. That's too close, and unfortunately that takes him right out of it. And Ian Riddle's going to have to try and take the Nordica car back onto the circuit. He now also has to have a look and see who's coming up behind. Got nice those tyres clean up pretty quickly as he spins the tyres, gets it back onto the circuit. So having been punted off, he decides it's time to go into the pit lane.
I just saw somebody dive into the pits ahead of him, but there's a lovely fight for 2nd and 3rd position, and there's only 0.2 of a second between Steenkamp and Hubert. That fight out there for that 2nd place, that's the one that we should... Oh, what? Into the pits comes Cherubin. Maximiliano Cherubin, I just saw him dive into pit lane. So your race leader is in a pit lane.
Yeah, unfortunately, the camera shot there, you can just see him. There he is. There he comes through. And somebody else that's come into the pits is Andre Steenkamp in the DeLonghi car. He was in 4th position, and he comes in there as well. Who else has come into the pits? Sandro Bakari has gone into the pit lane as well. So going to the front of the pack is that man in the black and white, Francois Hubert.
Well, remember, it's a 40-minute race. I'm not sure what the fuel capacity was, but they've done 27 minutes. So it is roundabout now that you're going to find the guys making their way into the pits for their one and only pit stop. Right, Massimiliano Cherubin from Italy making his way back out onto the circuit once again. And Cherubin rejoins in 5th position.
Steen comes on his way out. You can't see the cars as they come through there. It's actually, it crosses through underneath the circuit and then comes up on the other side. That's why you get that shot of the barrier. Classic circuit. Look how many people are sitting in the grandstand. When last have you seen something like that?
I only wish that they were real people, that's for sure. As Andre Steenkamp making his way around. But Francois Hubert in P1, and he's 5.6, almost 6 seconds ahead of Sean McCarthy in that 2nd position. There goes Francois Hubert in that number 304. He wants a win desperately. Remember that we've had 4 races so far, and between Johan Fourie and Willem Botha, they've won all of them. 2 for Fourie and 2 for Botha. So even though this one does not count for league points, they really would like to have a 3rd winner in this championship. Francois Hubert sits out there in P1. He's 6.1 seconds ahead of this man, Sean McCarthy, in that 2nd position. as McCarthy making his way around, but he is 5.4 seconds ahead of Pete, as into the pits goes race leader Francois Hubert.
Right, here's Sean McCarthy. He's in second position. Is he going to dive into the pit lane as well? Here he comes around. Nope, he's going to stay out on circuit. So Sean McCarthy will be the man that's going to take over the lead, and I do believe that is Peter van der Spey. Yep, you can see the green colours there behind the barrier. So that is him. That's in Stephen McCarthy in the second of the Eugene cars. He's going to come through, and yes, he does. There comes Stephen McCarthy. So Sean and Stephen McCarthy, look at that. Neither of them have been to the pits. The leading man that's been into the pits, Adrian Lefloch.
Yeah.
And the second man that's been into the pits already is Cherubin.
Yep.
Which means Francois Hubert finds himself post-pit stops in the top three with our international drivers. And as always, Johan Ferry finds himself then in the fourth place with Andre Steenkamp. Once the two McCarthys go in, that should be your top five.
Yeah, well, Hubert and Fourie, they are P5 and 6 out there on track. So they are making their way through the field. Remember that the Vlog, Cherubin, Hubert, Fourie and Steenkamp, those boys have already made a pit stop. The McCarthys have not made a pit stop yet, and they're almost 30 minutes into this 40-minute race session. So what are they going to do? They're going to have to make a pit stop. Here comes Lefloch. He's only 2.6 seconds behind Steve McCarthy. Remember, he can go hell for leather now. Those cars are being refueled to the end. So Lefloch and that man, Cherubin, can go one-on-one for the top position. So can Francois Hubert, that sits there in that fifth position. That's the man you see there in that 304 outfit. He can also go for a top three and never ever count out that man in P6. 1.6 seconds behind Francois Hubert in the Monster Energy Dallara, Mr. Johan Fourie.
Yep, Johan Fourie as always finds himself there and thereabouts. And if I've seen correctly, I think, yes, Sean McCarthy's coming in, and is Stephen going to join him? Yep, Stephen joins him as well, which means that it's a matter of time, and that man should take over the lead. There he goes. Yep, to the top of the log he goes. So the two McCarthys are in. Cherubin's going to come through next. Yep, Cherubin comes through. The two McCarthys are both in pits. Now, Francois Hubert. Is Francois Hubert going to make it through into third? Yes, he does. There's
Fourie's
Francois
gone
Hubert
through as well.
And Johan Fourie has come through with him as well. So the McCarthys dropping down to 5th, 6th and 7th. Is Andre Steenkamp close enough? There comes Steenkamp.
We'll have a look and see now. Here comes Andre in that black and gold DeLonghi JPS outfit, making his way. Ooh, track limits there for him, and he must be very careful. He's got a back marker behind him. Yeah, that is the Ferrari colored car of Engelbrecht. Engelbrecht is way down in P15, so Engelbrecht isn't a problem out there for Steenkamp in that 6th position. But at this point in time, the two international drivers in cars 26 and 23, Lefloch and Cherubin, are sitting out there in P1 and P2 as we watch Andre Steenkamp make his way through that right-hander.
Yep, Andre Steenkamp up 4 positions in the 46 car, and the next man in behind him is there, Sandro Bakari. Never count Sandro Bakari out. Not only is he one of the people that do lots of work in the background helping Mike Verrier to get it all together, but he's also very competitive out on circuit. Sandro Bakari, and the next man behind him is Captain Pete.
Yeah, Captain Peter van der Spey, our international pilot that sits there in that 7th place, resident here in Cape Town. Peter van der Spey is 2.9, almost 3 seconds behind Sandro Bakari. And here comes the second of the McCarthys, namely Stephen. He is there in that 8th position, and right there with him, just under a second behind him in P9. There you can see them both on screen, is Robbie Teens.
Yep, Robbie Teens, the comeback kid. What a lovely drive there by him in the Toyota Gazoo Racing colours. David Joubert is a long way further back from that. Although David Joubert finds himself in the top 10, that's where he is on circuit, 27 seconds further back. And rounding out the top 10, just behind David Joubert, is in fact Sways Joubert. They should be in the same picture as they come towards us. There's David Joubert and there is Sways Joubert. and Swayze is looking pretty good. Lovely color scheme, the Red Bull colors on that motor car. He's also had only one stop. Wayne Camage with one stop, and then the first man out on circuit with 2 stops is in fact the man with the Ferrari colors. That is Johan Engelbrecht. He's had 2 stops, and I must say Ian Riddle, even though he's had 2 stops, is doing an exceptionally good job, because Ian Riddle finds himself there after 2 stops with a 20 car in 14th position. And well, I tell you what, with 2 stops under the belt, you've done pretty well in the period of time you've been out on circuit.
He's in the old Camel Benetton Ford colors that, and the car was the same colors that Michael Schumacher raced in back in the day in 1994 and 95 when he became world champion. So Ian Riddle with that same color scheme in his Formula 3 Dallara, sitting there in that 14th position, 18, almost 19 seconds behind 13th place man, namely Johan Engelbrecht. So let's have a look and see what's happening further on the leaderboard.
That's the number of times off circuit. Le Floch has put the wheels on the outside of the black stuff on 3 different occasions. That must have been marginal stuff, because he hasn't exactly lost much time. Cherubin has been 4 times that he's had wheels off somewhere, but obviously not spun the car as well. Francois Hubert, as always,
Nothing.
clean out there, and Sandro Bakari as well. The only 2 people never so far to put the wheels off the black stuff. A brilliant drive by both of them. Johan Fourie down in 12th. Can he make a comeback from there?
Well, Johan Fourie and Willem Botha, I don't quite know so nice if they're going to make a comeback from there. There is just under 5 minutes left as Robbie Teens rolls down the pit lane to make a pit stop. Well, let's have a look. Peter van der Spey coming through. There's the pit entrance on the right hand side. Van der Spey making his way into that left-hander, climbs on the gas too quick and does a swapper coming out of that left-hander.
Just a little bit too much curbstone. Camage, let's see what he does. Does he clip it on the inside? No, he comes through there pretty neatly. Whether the Longy car just too quick on the gas. Actually, he recovered it pretty decently. Now he's got to turn it around. Well, he could have just turned around on the track. Obviously realized there was other cars coming up from behind, and said, let's not mess anybody around and let's take it out of the way. Herman Lazarus, this was an incident that he had with a 10 car early on. Pretty much that same complex of corners, catching the guys out just a little bit too hard on the gas. Ooh, what a recovery. Ooh, he almost got it. He almost had it in perfect shape, and then unfortunately on the last. Now, where do you go from there? You've got to have a look at your telemetry. He waits to let the other guys go past. Now he tries to do a 3-point turn. Oof, he's got to get off the circuit as quick as possible. There he manages to select a gear. Now you've got to be very smooth on the gas. Gets it back onto the circuit, checks his mirrors, there's nobody there, and back onto the circuit he goes. Let's go back to our new kid on the block. It is Adrian Le Floch.
Yeah, tell what, Lazarus almost fried those Hankook tires, but no problems for that Hankook tires of race leader Adrian Le Floch, who's gone up 2 positions. Maximiliano Cherubin has moved up 6 positions. And as Gary said earlier on, Swayze Hubert in P10 has moved up 15, but Bakari has moved up 17 places, and Bakari sits in P6. Swayze Hubert in 10th position. Adrian Le Floch won't worry about who's moved up where and who's done what. All he knows is he's in P1, and there you see behind him the 2nd place man from Italy, Massimiliano Cherubin, sitting there in that 2nd position in that 23 car, and he has moved up 6 positions as we look at Le Floch make his way around Silverstone Grand Prix circuit.
Look at the bottom there, Charles Hubert, he's out. Josh Garfias, our international rider, he's out. Graham Stephen, after that 3rd incident that he was involved with, that's taken him completely out of it as well.
Sorry, Gary, I did say Italy, and I said it looked like France. There is confirmation on your screen with a surname like Le Floch, and if you look at the flag, Adrien Le Floch is a Frenchman, and he's racing in France against us at this point in time.
And there's our 2nd place man in Italy. So folks, you sitting at home that is actually watching this right now, Massimiliano Cherubin in the 23 car that you see on screen. That man is sitting in Italy, in his studio, behind his steering wheel, behind his pedals, on his seat, and he's racing on the exact same server as everybody else worldwide. Each of these guys in their own lounge, in the comfort of their own homes, racing against one another. One man that's slightly where he doesn't want to be, that is Francois Joubert. He's gone down one position. He's found himself in that third place, but a lot happier than him right now will be the man that's just behind him, and that is Sean McCarthy, up 5. Andre Steenkamp not that far behind him. In fact, very, very close behind him is Andre Steenkamp, and he's also up 5 positions.
Well, Gary, as I look down the leaderboard, I feel sorry for Josh Garfias. He is completely out of this race. And I think that man was sitting in his seat there in Mexico, if I'm not mistaken, but sadly went horribly wrong for him. And not the way he wanted to start the sports and GT Masters career with us. But no problem for this man, Steenkamp. He is only 5/10 of a second behind McCarthy. That's there in that 4th place. That's a fight for P4 and 5. There you can see Sean McCarthy just ahead of Andre Steenkamp as they make their way through that flat out right-hander. He's closing 5/10 of a second. Is it going to become 4/10 of a second? Yes, it does. He's closing ever so slightly there on Sean McCarthy in 4th place as they make their way through that section of right, left little curves.
Notice the fine movements on the steering wheel as he works his way down the long straight. That's the view that you see coming towards you of those two riders. But a karting ace of note, Andre Steenkamp, and there you can see the fine tuning of those little movements on the steering wheel. Can he close down and pick up a 4th position? Remember, Sean McCarthy doesn't have to worry much about what's happening in front of him. He's outside of the top 3. Oh, he's 13 seconds as they come past the back marker. He's 13. Oh, very lucky to get away with that one. And the back marker slows completely down. So Sean McCarthy doesn't have to worry too much about what's happening in front of him.
Well, he has to worry a lot now, Gary. He went off the circuit and then he was creamed by that back marker. So, yeah. Not all well now all of a sudden for Steenkamp, as I should say, as he was taken out there by that back marker. So Andre Steenkamp in a lot of trouble out there all of a sudden. And Gary, I think you actually missed the checkered flag because this race is over. Adrian Lefloch came home in P1. Massimiliano Cherubin finished in 2nd. Francois Joubert finished in 3rd. Sean McCarthy finished in 4th. Andre Steenkamp finished in 5th position. That's why I didn't worry too much about what was happening on track with who hit him and who didn't, because he finished his race in the top 5, just ahead of Sandro Bakari, that rounds off the top half a dozen.
Yeah, that happened. That came. I thought it was going to be 50 minutes. It's actually 40 minutes. There you can see the checkered flags that has come through there as the guys just do the slowdown lap. Johan Ferry will still come through, and Herman Lazarus will still come through to finish off their laps. So, wow, it was such a great race. We didn't even realize it was 40 and not 50. The clock kept on running. We missed out on that one. Well, there you see the intervals between them. And as soon as the last guys come across the line, we'll be able to pick up those results for you. A number of international and local drivers joining us. Wow, what new talent we have picked up in this series.
Well, let's hope that the Frenchman and the Italian stay with us for the rest of the Sports and GT Master Series. Of course, we don't know how old these gentlemen are, if they qualify for Masters or not. If they do, it would be awesome to have Lefloch and Cherubin continue with us in the Master Series. But that time will tell next week, Wednesday.
So, of the local guys, Francois Joubert with the first of the South African local drivers from Sean McCarthy, Andre Steenkamp, Sandro Bakari, Stephen McCarthy, Captain Pete in 8th position, Davy and Swayze Joubert rounding out the top 10.
Right, just out the top 10 in P11 and 12, Robbie Teens and Johan Fourie. Man, not where Johan wanted to end this one. But it won't be 2 fades. It doesn't count for points. But still, from a personal point of view, you won't want to be there. Johan Engelbrecht neither, for that matter, sitting out there in that 13th position, followed by Wayne Camage and Willem Botha will definitely not be happy with that 15th position.
Well, this race, as we said, round five from Silverstone in the Dallara F3s, that was going to be point scoring because of the fact that some of the riders couldn't make it for this evening. They carried on with the race but decided not going to be for points, so we're not going to show you the points log as such, but so be it. Something to look forward to in the not too distant future. Have a look at this one. This is going to be interesting stuff. For the next 4 months, we're going to be having one race per month that's going to be coming up, and that's going to be our 6-hour races that you can see out there on the screen, and those are going to be a follow-on of the 1 6-hour that we have already had. And well, it's going to be once a month. The first race will be on Sunday the 27th, and that's going to be 6 hours, and there will be Spa, Kota, Sebring and Daytona is the first 4 circuits that have been laid out there, with prize money that's going to be going out to the guys as well. Frankie, as always, utterly brilliant stuff. Looking forward to hopefully no ESCOM problems, and that we will be able to have the next points scoring round coming up same time next week, Wednesday.
Well, as you look at that international race, that Dallara P217 LMP2 car, that will be for the youngsters and the pros. That will be the car they'll be driving on the left-hand side. And then that open car that you see, the open canopy, open cockpit car that you see on the right-hand side, that will be for the master drivers. But that's down the road, 27th of June. Next week, Wednesday, we're back here with round 6 of the Sports and GT Master Series.
From myself, Gary Fleming, and Frankie Jans, the voice of West Bromwich Motorsport, thank you very much for joining us. Look forward to seeing you next week, Wednesday. Good night, everybody.
Good night, everyone.